This episode is brought to you by Hostfully. Using Hostfully, you can create a free digital guidebook for your listing so that you can save time creating a professional experience for every guest that comes and visits your spot. Learn more at hostfully.com.
Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome.
Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad.
Welcome to episode 277 of Get Paid for Your Pad. And today we're going to do something new. A friend of mine asked me for help with his Airbnb listing. And in the next couple of months, I'm going to try and improve the results. And so today we're going to just have an introductory chat to learn about his Airbnb listing. So welcome to the show, Simon Lewis. How's it going, Simon?
I'm good, Jasper, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm in an amazing location in Tarifa, the most southern point in Europe, doing some kite surfing, and it's absolutely fantastic here. So, how's Barcelona? So Simon is actually living. He's actually my roommate at the moment. We're sharing my apartment in Barcelona. So how's the apartment? Still there?
The apartment's still here. The sunny weather is coming, so looking forward to a great summer in Spain.
Awesome. So Simon, tell us about your Airbnb listing. Where is it located? How long have you been hosting? What's your experience so far? And what's happening? Why are the results not as you want them to be?
So my Airbnb apartment is actually in Cape Town in South Africa. It's a one-bedroom apartment on the beachfront in a very desirable part of the city, close to bars and restaurants and transport links and things like that. I've been an Airbnb host for, I think, 6 years now. I was a very, very early adopter to Airbnb, but I didn't really treat it like a serious business for a very long time. So I rent out my personal home, if you like, so I can travel and have some flexibility. I've always seen some good bookings through the summer months, of course, which is December, January, February, March, and April. And then in Cape Town in South Africa, May is always a very difficult month because it's winter. The weather isn't bad. It's just, seasons change. And it's quieter over June, July, August, and then things pick up in September again.
Awesome. So tell us about the results. You've been renting this apartment for 6 years?
Yeah, approximately 6 years, yeah.
Okay. And so the summer is the high season, and I imagine that probably lasts from November through March, more or less?
Yeah, it's basically high season is December to March, but there's always a little bit of a shoulder season of November and April. So, we get I get lots of inquiries in November for December and January, February, March, etc.
Okay, and so what have the results been like in, let's say, like the last year or so? Is it almost always fully booked, or do you have empty times? Like what was it like?
Usually, I've monitored it over the last couple of years, and usually late November, December, February, March, April, it's full. Maybe a few days here, a few days there. Some people take it for a month, that sort of stuff. In the last 12 months, it could be down to a number of reasons. More people renting on Airbnb in the city, other reasons, but the bookings haven't been as good this year. For example, didn't have any bookings in January or any inquiries. That could have been down to the fact that an Airbnb glitch meant that I accepted my page accepted instant bookings when I'd never set my Airbnb as instant booking, so I had some bad reviews. Airbnb finally removed those bad reviews, but I still didn't get any more inquiries.
Okay, so let's think about the potential improvements. So first of all, let's talk about instant book. So you're not using instant book, right? Yeah. Tell us why.
Instant booking it's my personal home. Like I say, it's not really a sort of a purpose-built Airbnb apartment. So I have some personal things in there and things like that. And I don't particularly like instant book because, It's always best to check who's staying. It's sometimes you get dodgy people trying to make instant booking to Airbnb in South Africa, and it's just they make an instant booking, and then it's not actually for the person who's going to stay. And I've had some bad experiences in the past.
Okay. Tell us about how do you manage the unit? Who cleans it? Who does the check-ins? Do you have self check-in options like a lockbox or something? Like how do you manage it?
I don't have a lockbox. I have a friend actually who has her own Airbnb apartments. She will check people in and out. If somebody does want to check in, I keep the keys at a local coffee shop that people can go and just pick up the keys. That's very, very simple. So there's a check-in and check-out available where the person is checked in. They're given some local information about the local coffee shops and restaurants and things to do in the area, etc. And then on checkout, the person doesn't need to physically be checked out. If they are leaving for a flight very early in the morning, for example, we just literally say, leave the keys on the kitchen counter, lock the door when you leave, and you can go. And then I have a local cleaning company who does the cleaning for me.
Awesome. And what are you typically charging for your one-bedroom apartment?
Just let me check. In season, it can be anything for, around $100 a night. But obviously out of season, it's, $30, $40 a night.
And how much do you pay for cleanings and the check-ins?
Cleanings and check-ins work out about $20.
That's okay. So cleaning is $20, and that includes the check-in person?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. And so this year, you really haven't had many bookings at all, right?
No, we did. It was fully booked in December, fully booked in February, and there was a few scattered bookings in March. But I didn't get the usual inquiries I get for January.
Right. Okay. So I've actually had a look at your listing, and I'll put a link in the show notes so that the listeners can also take a look. I'll also do a review of your listing on YouTube so that people can take a look at that as well. And so I think there's a number of things that we're going to have to adjust. Like, first of all, me and Simon have discussed this, and Simon has agreed to kind of give me the remote control and make the changes necessary that I think are necessary. And the first thing that we're going to have to change is that instant book setting. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to get a lot of tractions without instant books for a number of reasons. Like, the first reason is that Airbnb really likes instant book, and so it will really punish your listing in the search results. It typically shows listings that have instant books enabled, and guests can even set a filter where they only get shown instant book listings. Mm-hmm. So instant book is a very important feature to have if you want to attract bookings. And right now, I think the issue with your listing is that it doesn't have much momentum. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, Airbnb is really a momentum game. When you're starting out, you just want to get as many bookings as possible. And as a result of all that activity, Airbnb then shows you to a lot more of its users, which results in even more bookings. And so, it's really all about building a strong reputation, getting a lot of people in your place, getting a lot of reviews, getting good ratings, improving the search rank, and then it kind of snowballs on. And then, later, once you have that top reputation, I mean, you're really aiming for the listing to be one of the top listings in the city, right? Mm-hmm. And in order to achieve that, you have to just make it as easy as possible for people to book. You have to make the listing as attractive as possible for Airbnb, but also for its users, so that and that's the best way to get momentum. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper because I know you don't really like instant book, and so the main reason why you said you don't like it is because you're worried about people booking your place that are going to steal stuff from you or not treat your apartment well. Is that correct?
Exactly. One of the things attractive about my apartment is the fact it's actually not a Airbnb apartment. It is still a personal home, and I've had good reviews and good feedback from guests who've actually stayed there and gone, oh wow, we didn't actually realize we were staying in somebody's house. We thought it was just a Airbnb apartment. So, and then obviously in South Africa there is it's not just South Africa, all the way around the world, some people will just use instant book just to get a cheap apartment for the night, just for, and they steal shit when they leave,
Right. So have you ever had anything stolen?
Things go missing all the time. That's just a fact of life. But you get, I've used instant bookings, and then, people have stayed there and then given me a really, really bad review. And, it's like you stayed there for one night and you complained about, no parking outside the front door, things like that. So I just always like to have a little bit of a conversation with the people beforehand, so they know exactly what they're getting.
Yeah, that's right. So are there any items in your apartment that would devastate you if they get stolen?
Well, there's art on the walls. that would devastate me. There's expensive art on the walls and things like that, but all my actual valuables are locked away, of course.
Okay. So here's the thing, right? I mean, there's nobody can guarantee that nothing's going to get stolen, right? Yeah. So, but there's two things when it comes to stolen items. There's two sides of it, right? Number one is the financial cost. Now, if somebody actually steals something, then there's a way to get refunded for that, right? You can set a security deposit. You can go to Airbnb for the resolution tool, and you can get that money back in case something is stolen. But there's also the personal aspect. Like if you have an item, that has like some emotional value to you, then obviously you can get refunded for the cost of the item, but that's still going to hurt, right? So my first recommendation is anything that you really don't want to get stolen, I would just lock it away or put it in storage or give it to a friend or whatsoever. So are any items that you would want to remove?
No, the small, all those items that are of value are actually locked away. It's just It's just the mainly the art on the walls. Like I said, I've been doing Airbnb for a long time, so it's like I like people to stay in the apartment who appreciate they're staying in an Airbnb host's apartment. They're not just renting an apartment. So that's a kind of, I know that doesn't really work for the algorithm, but it's kind of like, people appreciate that or actually go and stay there and they go, oh, wow, I didn't actually realize it's still a tradition, an old-fashioned Airbnb, if you like, where it's actually somebody's home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think that's great. But when we turn on Instant Book, that's nothing's going to change, right? People are still going to appreciate your home as it is, right? But there's a couple other things that I want to mention when it comes to Instant Book. And this is something that some people don't realize, is that when you get an instant booking, you can still go on that person's profile and take a look. And if you feel that the person is kind of sketchy, or you don't feel comfortable having that person in your home, you can actually cancel the booking penalty free.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so you can cancel it penalty free up to 3 times, and if you want, you can even cancel it more than 3 times. But then you would have to contact Airbnb. So there's a safety net there. Mm-hmm. And so and that in combination with the fact that, if something does get stolen, there's always that resolution tool that should give you a little bit of comfort. And so what my first suggestion would be, we're going to turn it on and, let's see how it goes, right? We'll take a close look at any instant bookings that will come through. We'll look at their profiles. And we can also set that the person has to have a positive recommendation from the host. So it's not like not anybody can use Instant Book, right? Only the people that fulfill the conditions that you set.
Yeah, well, I don't know about the conditions, but maybe you can educate me there, because when you've probably seen this yourself, when you use Instant Book, you get people trying to book your apartment who have literally set up their Airbnb account today. And there's sometimes, it's happened a bit to friends of mine who have never used Airbnb. They want to use Airbnb, but they don't have any reviews. And then, can you set Instant Book that you can only accept people who have a certain amount of personal reviews?
Yes, you can set certain requirements, right? So there's 2 options when it comes to Instant Book, right? You can set that all guests must send a reservation request, or you can set guests who meet all your requirements can book instantly. Others will need to send a reservation request. Okay. You can cancel 100% penalty free if you're ever uncomfortable with your reservation. So there is, you're not the only one who worries about this. So here's the conditions that we can set, right? There's the Airbnb standard requirements of a confirmed phone number, email address, payment information, agreement to the house rules. You can turn on the profile picture. So when somebody makes a booking, you get to see the profile picture, but only after the booking is confirmed. Airbnb recently changed that. We can require a government-issued ID. And last but not least, we can set that the guests need a recommendation from other hosts. So these guests have traveled on Airbnb, are recommended by other hosts, and have no negative reviews. Okay. So that last condition, that does leave out a group of guests that are not going to be able to use instant booked, right? Requiring host recommendations means that new guests can't book instantly. Like you have to have at least one positive recommendation from a host. And just to give you an idea, like, I mean, I've always accepted people as well with no bookings, because you got to start somewhere. You know, if you don't have any reviews, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person and you're going to steal shit, right? So I've always come from a place of let's give people the benefit of the doubt, and as a result, it's been rewarding because I've never really had any issues, but I know of people that have had issues. So we're still going to be careful. We're going to be reviewing every single instant booking, and we're going to make sure that we're comfortable with the person that's going to book.
Okay.
But in any case, that would be my first recommendation, to turn that on. And the other recommendation that I have is I looked at your calendar, and the calendar is only open for May. It's closed for June, July, August, September, etc. And so that kind of limits the amount of inquiries and bookings that you can get, right? If somebody wants to book a place in June, they're actually unable to book your place, which also means that people are searching for listings for that period. Your listing isn't going to show up, so people are also not going to click on it. They're not going to view your listing, and these are all factors that play a role in Airbnb's search ranking algorithm, right? One of our first goals is to get your listing up in the search results so that people can actually see it, they can find it, you get more views, you get more clicks, and that's gonna not only give you inquiries and bookings, but it's gonna help you get a better position in the search results. Mm-hmm. So those are I'd say the most important adjustments that we're going to be making. Also, I noticed that your calendar hasn't been updated for 10 days.
Right.
So that's something that we're going to be doing as well. We're going to make sure that our calendar is updated every single day. Again, that's also a factor that plays a role in the search results. Airbnb sees that you're active, because what Airbnb really doesn't like is a calendar that's not accurate. Because what's a really bad guest experience is that somebody books, and this happened to me before. You look at the calendar of a listing and you see the dates that are available, and then you make an inquiry, and then the host is like, "Oh, sorry, those dates are actually not available." Mm-hmm. And that's a really bad user experience. And so Airbnb wants to avoid that user experiences, of course. And so when Airbnb sees that your listing hasn't been updated for 10 days, it's going to worry that maybe there's some dates in there that aren't accurate anymore. And so when you update your calendar every day, then that gives Airbnb some confidence that you're on top of your, managing your listing, and it's very likely that your calendar is up to date. So they're more likely to show you to more of its users. Mm-hmm. There's a few other settings. So we're going to open up the calendar for like a year in advance. If there's any times that you actually want to stay at your own place, or if there's any dates that you want to block out, we'll just block them out manually.
Okay.
Now, the next thing I'm looking at is minimum stay. Currently, you have a minimum stay of 5 nights, which I think is too high. We're going to have to lower that. Now, I know a lot of hosts are not happy with doing one-night stays. What are your thoughts on that?
One-night stays is just a lot of admin. And it's just tricky for checking people in and out, which is one problem, but also cleaning. If I have one person who checks it out on a Monday, and then somebody who checks in on the same day or the next day, sometimes it's not going to be possible to get the cleaner in.
Right, that's right. So, what's your checkout time? 11 a.m. is right.
Yeah, 11 a.m. Yeah.
Okay. So how many hours does it take to clean the apartment?
2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours. All right. So if we set, let's say we set the checkout time as the check-in time at 3 p.m. So that gives us 4 hours. So in those 4 hours, we should be able to get the apartment cleaned, right?
Yeah.
But we need to make sure that we have a cleaning lady, or we have somebody, cleaning person, I should say, could be a guy, of course. But we should have a person that's either always available, or we should have relationships with multiple cleaning persons. Because again, what we really need to do in order to give your listing momentum, we need to get as many bookings as possible, and so we need to make it as easy as possible for people to book, and that includes people who are staying for one night.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's something that we're going to have to work on. We're going to have to find a way for your cleaning person to be able to always clean the apartment, even if it's within that 4-hour window. And I've personally remotely managed my Airbnb listing in Amsterdam for 5 years, and I've done one-night stays. I've had back-to-back bookings as well, because even if you have a minimum of 2 or 3 night stays, you could still have back-to-back bookings, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, it's definitely possible, right? It just requires
it's
a little bit more.
It's just maybe it's just a bit of lazy admin, but yeah, let's change that.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, so that's great. So we'll make those adjustments. I think your reviews are pretty good. You have almost consistently 5-star reviews. You're not quite a super host yet, but that's something. I
was a super host, just to so you know, I was a super host. But when the Airbnb glitch with the instant bookings happened, they removed my super host status.
Damn, such bastards.
Yeah, they agreed to remove the bad reviews, but they wouldn't remove the super host status. So
okay,
that's an experience.
All right. Well, the good news is you don't have to be a super host in order to do really well. So that's it's not a requirement. It's nice to be a super host, but you can still do really, really well on Airbnb without having that super host status. So that's not going to be an issue. And over the long term, we'll work on getting you that status back.
Okay.
Let's see, and then I had a look at your photos as well. And I think one of the things where we can make a lot of improvements is actually not necessarily the photos themselves. Like, the photos are pretty good. They're professional photos. Did you use a professional service to take those pictures?
Yeah, the Airbnb photographer. Yeah. Right.
Exactly. So the pictures look really good, but what I want to change is the order of your photos.
Okay.
Because if you look at your listing now, essentially your first 5 photos show the exact same thing. It shows the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would like to do is I would like to create a collage of the first 5 photos, just the 5 most attractive pictures from your listing, but showing each photo showing a different space. And the reason for that is that when people click on your listing, the first thing they'll see is that collage of the 5 photos, right?
Right.
And what you want is people to spend more time viewing your listing, because the more time that somebody spends viewing your listing, the better the chance of a booking. And this is also something that Airbnb looks at for the search results. And so if you show 5 pictures that show different parts of your listing, there you have a better chance to spike the user's interest, right? Because internet users have a very low attention span, and so it's very easy to lose them. And so you want to give them as much reason as possible to stick around. And showing 5 pictures of different aspects of your listing, for example, you have some beautiful pictures of the surroundings, right? I see a picture of the ocean, a sunset, a beautiful mountain. Like, these are really, really appealing pictures. If somebody comes to your listing and sees one of those pictures, that immediately creates a feeling of, wow, that looks amazing. That's something that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Awesome.
So would you suggest like that the first picture be a view, or the first picture be the inside of the house?
I think for the first picture, what we're going to do is we're going to actually do some searches on Airbnb and see what other listings are showing. Because what you really want is your first picture should be very appealing, but you also want it to stand out versus the other featured images of the other listings.
Yeah. Right.
So it could be. I mean, I think if your first picture of the living room is a pretty decent picture in itself. But if we're going to go into search results, and if, for example, nobody is showing a picture of that beautiful mountain, then maybe we'll try that, and we can experiment, right? We can use one picture for a couple of weeks and then change it up. But in general, I think for your listing, where it's a 1-bedroom, so on the first 5 pictures, we should be showing one picture of the living room, definitely one picture of the bedroom. The bedroom is where the people spend the most time, because that's where people sleep. So people want to know where they sleep, right? So if they see in the collage, if they immediately can see like, oh, the bedroom looks great, the bed looks comfortable, then that will definitely spike their interest. So one picture of the bedroom, one of the living room, probably one of the kitchen as well. Your kitchen looks pretty good. And then I would definitely add 1 or 2 pictures of the surroundings, because I think the location of your apartment is probably one of its best selling points.
That's correct, yeah.
And so if the location is one of the best selling points, then we need to show that, right? So why is your location so good? Well, one of the reasons, I think it's very close to the beach, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very close to an Olympic-sized swimming pool at the end of the street. It's a public pool, but that's one of the selling points. That there's a massive, you can see it on one of the pictures, there's a massive Olympic-sized swimming pool right on the water's edge, which is about 40 meters away from the front door. So that's one of the selling points.
Awesome. So then we're definitely going to show that picture as the probably number 3 or number 4 or number 5. And we're going to make sure that we emphasize the fact that it's very close to the apartment in the caption, which you've actually already done. So that's good. And then we'll probably show a picture of the beachfront as well.
Yeah.
So I think those are the main adjustments that we're going to make. Also, your cancellation policy is strict.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're probably not going to like this, but I'm going to change it to flexible.
Well, I'll tell you my experience with that and why it's strict, if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we a few years ago, it's happened a couple of times where you get people who make a booking at your apartment and then they arrive in Cape Town a few days before, have a look around, and then cancel your apartments because they found a different option. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They book an apartment as a backup plan, and they're like, oh well, I'm going to book this apartment on say Monday the 1st of December, but I'm actually going to arrive a week before to stay with some friends and check out the city. So they know they've got a place booked, secured, and when they're there, they then find another place and cancel your booking. And I've lost lots of booking. Well, I've lost 2 big bookings in my 6 years experience in key seasons because of people doing that.
You've lost 2 bookings in 6 years.
Yeah, but what I mean is these were like 3-week bookings.
So how many bookings do you think you've lost by using the strict cancellation policy?
I don't know, but what I mean is it was like 2 3-week bookings in high season. That was a lot of money. So that was why it was on strict.
Right. No, I mean, I get
your point. I get your point.
I get it. I mean, I understand why a lot of hosts are using it. But again, I mean, we just want to make it as easy as possible for people to book. And basically, a booking that gets canceled is not really worse than having no booking at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the changes that we're going to make, and we're going to see. Hopefully, we'll start getting some results, even though it's low season right now. So you typically don't get a lot of bookings in May and June.
Yeah.
But we're going to do everything we can to get you some bookings, because there's no point your place being empty, right?
No point. No, of course.
Exactly. So awesome. Is there anything else that you think is relevant that we should talk about with regards to your listing?
The check-in times is an interesting one. I'm sure this isn't a unique problem for Cape Town, but all international flights arrive into Cape Town early in the morning. So most inquiries we get are people saying, oh, okay, we arrive at 9 a.m. Is there any chance of an early check-in, or any chance that we can leave our bags and things like that? So I always say, when people book, we always give flexibility on that. So, that's just one thing of when you said about the cleaning issues of having a later check-in, that's one thing that I've noticed that, people like an early check-in, because usually the flights from Cape Town to Cape Town, you're usually on a minimum of a 12-hour flight. You arrive early in the morning and people just want to get to the place and have a shower and relax. So we always try and check people in early because of that. So that was one of the problems with the cleaners as well. But yeah, everything else sounds good.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I think it's really good to accommodate people with early check-ins as possible. Hopefully we'll have so many bookings that we're not always going to be able to accommodate that. But do the flights also typically leave very early in the morning?
The flights, they're mainly in the evenings. So, we get a lot of people saying, can we have a late checkout?
Right. So we're gonna have people who want to check in early, but the current guests want to check out late. So if we get back-to-back bookings, then that's going to require a little bit of communication on our part.
That's always the challenge, because I like to be flexible with the checkouts, because everybody's a human, and I people always like, oh, how much do you charge for a late checkout? And I'm like, look, man, it's fine.
Right.
Maybe I'm too flexible. I always say if the house isn't a disaster, as in the cleaner doesn't need 2 days to clean it, it's fine with a late checkout, because I like to be nice like that.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. I think we're going to keep doing that, and I think what we're going to do, if we do have back-to-back bookings, then we're going to have to require the guest to either check out on time and also check in not earlier than the earliest time.
Yeah.
And so, but what we are going to do in order to help those guests is, number one, we can suggest places that they can go where they can store their luggage, and we can also suggest things to do. Like, let's say, like what I used to do always when I couldn't accommodate an early check-in, I would always tell people, listen, there's an amazing breakfast spot, just a block away from my house. Why don't you just go there? You can hang out there. They have amazing breakfast. You can get a coffee. I'll tell them like the name of the person that works there, so they kind of feel like they have a place to go that feels comfortable and that I've recommended. And that typically is enough to make the guest feel comfortable. And
the selling point of my location, the location of where my apartment is the fact that it's surrounded by coffee shops and restaurants, and it's all walkable. So, what we usually do is, if somebody wants an early check-in and the apartment's not ready, and the cleaner's there, we just say, just drop your bags. You can drop the bags in the apartment, and then we go, and then walk down the street. You'll find many coffee shops to go and hang out in. There's a little shopping mall down the street where people can kind of, go to the supermarket and things like that. So, that works well as a kind of sales tool, if you like, because people get to leave their bags and they're very happy that they've got an early check-in or a place to leave their bags, and then they get to explore the area by themselves on foot.
Absolutely. That's great. So we're going to keep doing that. Anything else you think is important?
No, I think that's it.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to get going and change a bunch of things in your listing, and hopefully we'll be welcoming some new guests pretty soon.
It's been an interesting experience in winter anyway. So the weather's not bad in Cape Town in winter, but people just think it's bad. So it'll be very interesting to see if we can get some bookings for the winter months.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try my best, and we're going to update the audience on the podcast every now and then, but also I created blog posts with, screenshots of your listing and everything, and the results that you've seen so far, and I'll update that, let's say, like every month or so to see if we're getting some traction or not, hopefully. Anyway, Simon, thanks for coming on the show. I'm really excited to work on this case study with you. And
thanks, Master.
And yeah, to the audience, to the listeners, thanks for listening, of course. And so if you're not on my email list, make sure you sign up at getpaidforyourpad.com. If you want to follow along with Simon's Airbnb listing and all the changes that we're going to make, etc., I'll send out emails, and I'll probably do a couple of YouTube videos and stuff. So sign up at getpaidforyourpad.com. And of course, next week there's going to be another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad. So thanks for listening, and until then.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.